I think it was about 15 or 20 years ago. When we were in a different mode, there was a sustainable stormwater program, and we were charged with basically trying all kinds of different things, different designs with green streets. And so this project, we're back to pods, right? Remember the biopods? Well, these we also are affectionately referred to as pods. And unfortunately, you can't really see it, but there are 5 of these kind of pod-shaped units along this street. So I think the design goal, Dave Elkin designed it. Some of you got a handout. Dave Elkin is still a landscape architect in town. And he basically took a green street. I think he took the rough area of the green street needed. This is drains to the combo sewer, as we've said. And basically took the area of the green street and then parceled it out into these pods along the street, which aesthetically I think is really interesting. If you were to drive along, you were able to actually see these things. It's interesting looking. It has made for really great tree pods or tree wells. More on that later. And then also it kind of works as far as stormwater coming in the front end. And we've talked about heavy sediment loads and issues, years spent trying to figure out forebays and sediment deposition. And so the first one on the upper end gets a lot more flow than the others. And I think last time I checked, maybe 10 years ago, the plants were actually doing okay, but most of the sediment settled out in that one. And then, so it goes into the first one, fills up, overflows, then goes down the curb to the next one and into the next one. So it's a really neat idea. It is a one-off. We've never done a facility like this again, but it's I think it's a great example to have. Things, say at our last stop, you saw how all those curb extensions were on the end of the block, right? It's all about efficiency these days. Not just in terms of construction. Presumably a single facility at the end of the block would cost less than all these different units, but we like to minimize the number of units we have to maintain these days. And then partly because of the long-term implications for maintenance. And Zoe's going to talk more about that. I wanted to connect on the tree thing because tree wells are still of interest, and we're paying attention to Gresham. Gresham, I don't know how many people are aware, but they have a tree well program. They're installing a lot of tree wells. They're behind the curb. Okay, they're mini planters. They're behind the curb, and they manage stormwater, but they're also there to benefit the trees. So this whole idea of how to get trees into the urban environment and how to marry them with storm facilities and whether small tree wells will work is very much alive, and we're going to be interested to see what kind of success Gresham has with their tree well program. Any questions about the design that Tom and I could hear answer before I hand it over to Zoe to talk about the maintenance issues? Yeah. Good point. The question is, did these originally have plans? And the answer is yes. Yeah.
If you look at the Google Street View, it's really, you can go back and look at the time lapse because you can get different years. So if you're curious about the plants, they originally planted with like rushes or sedges or something smaller like this, and then over time the tree grew and those other plants died. I don't know if this is good or bad, but it's really easy to see in the Google Street View, so you can check that out.
It's interesting that this isn't replanted, as Dennis was telling us what was happening down on that riverfront property. So why is BES replanting those and not these? And Zoe's going to tell us. But before you tell us, I just wanted to say something. So when we were in that phase, and I was with BES and the Sustainable Stormwater Group, and we were looking at different designs, and Dave Elkin, as he said, came up with this design. What I don't remember is when we had the conversation in our group to say, let's do more or let's not ever do these again. And so I think what happened, from my recollection, is that transportation, I don't know if anybody's from transportation, but I don't think transportation liked this at all. And so, but in a way, it's kind of like, I'm thinking about that pod that's over there on the riverfront. I think this is kind of like a pod, and it's got a tree in it, and da-da-da-da-da-da. So, seems interesting. But I contend that I think this is a good design that we ought to do more of. And I don't know if, I don't have scientific evidence for that, but I don't think anybody has scientific evidence as to why we shouldn't do this. But if they do, that'd be nice to know. Anyway, you wanted it?
Oh, I was just curious about maintenance, obviously, but if the road maintenance, yeah.
No, it's okay. Ask the question.
Oh, my question, I guess, was like road maintenance. Did they not like a curb and gutter for like sweeping or guiding their maintenance vehicles or something?
Oh, I guess I can't speak to
Yeah,
Keybox
that was the question.
reasoning. I think a big part of it was parking. Parking's really very hard around here, so they're probably not happy. No, not happy about the parking situation. To answer your question about planting, so every time we maintain these, they have about almost like a foot of sediment in them. We actually we came here a couple weeks ago and we had to like kind of unbury those juncus that are barely hanging on. I think the Oregon grape was not covered fully, but the one further east we've taken out probably like 3 55-gallon brute sediment loads from that. Just one small, we call these our football swales. So we were shocked that you're going to the football swales. We were like, we also really have challenges with human impacts, and I'm trying to be respectful of our community members, but 2 weeks ago when we were doing maintenance out here, our toughest stomach teammate, I don't know if Jordan's here, I don't think he is, but he had to tap out because he was gagging so much due to people using these as a toilet. Which we are told by our supervisors we do not have to do anything that we don't feel comfortable with. Sometimes we do it just because we're here and we know that we'll do it faster, but if it's a point where we're going to lose our lunch or it's not safe, we call in our contract with Rapid Response and they come in and do it for us. We have an open contract with them. They usually come within about a week or two.
Do people ever trip and fall in here?
Yes. People. The question was, do people trip and fall in here? The answer is yes, but I don't know the exact number. Any other questions?
Would you like to see more forebays in the facilities that we've seen?
Oh, the question was, would I like to see more forebays in the facilities we've seen? Those are okay over on that we just looked at. They don't have heavy sediment loads. These, we can fill up our trailer in a couple hours. So yeah, these fill up with a lot of sediment for some reason.
So what the sediment source is?
Yeah.
It's just a small stream.
I know. I don't know.
And you're saying all of these pods, all 5, fill up with that much sediment?
Yeah, we scrape away. That's why they're so low, I think, because we scrape away. We try to take away all the sediment every time, and we're not perfect, so they do take away a little bit of the soil level too. But yeah, I think originally these were planted much higher, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Not much higher, but a little.
Yeah. Okay.
Trees are doing great. We don't have any problems providing more cooling in the city. Seems like that's successful.
Yeah, and we found this species of, I think this is a locust, to be really successful. And you saw them in there's a couple in the newly planted facilities over there too.
So who maintains the trees?
We are allowed to do tree maintenance if we don't have to get on a ladder. And if it's for clearance, we're allowed to do it without a permit. Otherwise, we have to call in a contractor, an arborist, to do it. But we, as BES, are responsible for maintaining these trees.
So these trees you say are really successful, and I know some of these species gets really large, and so they'll impede a lot of the structures. Do you foresee that happening anytime soon? I see that some of the sidewalk is being uplifted over there. Do you see these wells being cracked at all?
I see the gray infrastructure of facilities cracking even without trees.
Okay.
So I couldn't say if it's always because of trees or not.
I think in terms of trees and, street trees, like down there, they don't have any stormwater facilities. Trees are always doing their thing, so it's just part of the urban tree issue.
But Tom, do you think that the walls on this extend deep enough to present a barrier for roots in terms of protecting the sidewalk? Because for the 10 people who got handouts, sorry about that, the designer, that was one of the benefits. Well, so the designer, I think, in the handout that I passed around to 10 people, thought that the walls on this would actually be super suited for a tree well, that they extend deep enough to impede roots and to effectively protect the sidewalk.
Do some trees' roots go out or down? I mean, certain species
Some
go more
species-
downward.
Some species are made to go out, like red maple. Red maple is a swamp tree in the southeast United States. So it's planted here. A lot of times they'll have shallow roots. And if they're not planted in a facility, they're just planted on the street, and they're planted all over town, they will cause the sidewalk to be damaged. Damage the sidewalk. This one looks like it's sort of in between, and then some have roots that go down. So it is you would hope that urban forestry knows the exact right trees to plant in the right place. I assume they do. Trees are, trees are like kids. I mean, we don't want to get rid of trees. Well, I don't.
And this is a good teaser for the next stop where we talk about that, but there was some infrastructure put in the sidewalk to prevent the heaving. So, just...
I was going to say, as far as cars getting into facility, we don't often hear about it at the staff level. That often comes through our risk group. But I was just going to point out that this shining right here is usually a sign that someone was in the facility with their car.
And they got out a lot. Because
Because
the car's not still here.
Yeah.
Would you consider this curvature acceptable for traffic calming?
I don't. The question was whether this curve would be kind of acceptable or considered traffic calming. I guess mechanism.
It wasn't put in for that purpose, as you can see, because there's parking here. So I don't know that somebody from transportation had to take that. Unless you want to go into their business.
No, I don't know. I meant to add, I don't think I did, that in talking to one of our current designers, she designs, Kate Hipsman, who designs a lot of green streets. One of the advantages of putting a larger facility at the end of the street is sight lines, right? Because so often, with so much parking in the city, you get to the end of the block, right, and you can't see around that SUV that it's in the last stall. And so for her anyway, she's a CIP designer, and she often coordinates with PBOT. PBOT sees that benefit too, as far as these green streets being at the end of the block, like the ones you saw over there, really helping improve safety at intersections. We don't install these badges anymore, and I wish we did. Zoe, we need to talk to communications and get those back on there.
Why did you stop?
I don't know. Somebody decided they weren't worthwhile. They do come off once in a while. They're epoxied on, but we always considered them useful for the public. People, I think, kind of understand more about the facilities with that.
If you do, you should add more description up there, because a lot of people just see the fish and not
Oh.
understand it. So
Yeah.
if you do decide to add more,
I'm not even sure. Can someone read that? What does it say?
Green streets.
It's an old number that I don't think is in operation anymore to call.
Oh, is that the number I was asking about?
It's 823-1700. I haven't heard that.
Oh, that's maintenance bureau.
That is? That is us? Oh.
Managing stormwater.
Okay, I'll call it.
Someone still answers it? Okay. Yeah, Tom can try.